Okay, so today class, to start with the lesson, we're going to be going over the World War I presentation that you should have looked at before you came to class. But if you didn't look at it before you came to class, you are in luck because I'm going to be going over some of the key points of the slide to help you prepare for your exit ticket and the test at the end of this lesson. So we're going to review that, like I said, to prepare for your exit ticket. And then after we review it, you're going to be writing down some questions on a piece of paper that the PowerPoint or my review still didn't answer, and you're going to throw it to the front of the class. Okay, we need to be adults about this. No checking in at me, no hard throws, just throw it to the front of the class, and I'll choose a few of the pieces of paper to answer, and then I will write the questions on the board over there, and then I'll write or draw the answer. And just to let you know that I put the steps of our lesson right down here in case you didn't remember. So remember, first we're going to review. You're going to write your question on the paper, and then I'm going to choose some of the papers. Then I'm going to find where your questions are in the presentation, and then also I'm going to write or discuss the answers. So let's start reviewing the PowerPoint. Okay, so the first slide, pretty simple, but this is what you're definitely going to be having to know for your test at the end of the exam. Obviously, when World War I started and when it ended. Started in 1914 and ended in 1918. So a lot of people may not know as much about World War I as they do about World War II, but one of the greatest impacts of World War I is that the map of Europe is greatly changed. So I'm going to show you a map of Europe before World War I and then after World War I, and I'm going to just flip through them really quickly to show you how much it changed. So see, so this is before World War I, and this is after World War I. So see how quickly that changed? So Russia becomes the USSR, and then you see Austria-Hungary is divided up into all of these countries like Czechoslovakia and Yugoslavia. And then also we see that even Great Britain is divided into Northern Ireland and then the Republic of Ireland. So you understand, in the entire scope of history, for the map to be changed so much in just these 4 years, it is very significant. Also, people think, what are the impacts of World War I? And also, we need to understand the Treaty of Versailles, which was brought the end of World War I, because you have to understand the Treaty of Versailles to understand why World War II started. And to understand the modern world today, you have to understand World War II. So World War I is connecting to World War II. And then, so we're going to go on. So then obviously the title of this PowerPoint was Causes of World War I Mania. So you obviously know that this is one of the most important slides. So a lot of people, when they look at World War I, they only think that the only cause of World War I is the assassination of Austrian Archduke Franz Ferdinand. We have to understand that this single event was a catalyst because of all of these alliances, that the European powers formed these rival alliances to protect themselves. Now remember that meme video that we watched at the beginning of this lesson that says, when a Serb shoots an Austrian, so you, an American, have to fight Germans in France. Now it sounds completely ridiculous to a modern person today, but that's how it was. People were fighting people and they didn't understand why that was happening. It's happening because of these tangles of alliances. So remember this acronym when you're filling out your exit ticket and when you're doing your exam. So the final slide we're going to be going over today is the major powers. In every war, people are like, is it who versus who? Who are the major players? Who's angry at one another? So it's going to be the Triple Alliance versus the Triple Entente. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. It is a French word, but we have to remember that the Triple Alliance was Germany, Austria, Hungary, and Italy. And if you're having trouble remembering that, remember that in World War II, Germany and Italy were together in alliance. So we see the parallels of World War I and then coming back to World War II, we see those similarities. And then also the Triple Entente was France, Russia, and Great Britain. We also remember that Russia and Great Britain were also aligned together in World War II. It was kind of an uneasy alliance because of the differences in government, but remember those similarities. And also Entente, French word, so you can remember France if you're having trouble remembering that third player in the Triple Entente. So that is the end of the review of the presentation. So I'm going to be taking some questions now. Okay, so the first question that we have here is, why were airplanes important in World War I? The slides did not give me enough information. Okay, So remember, if you looked at the end of the slides, at the very end, when they were talking about the new technologies of World War I, they just gave World War I aircraft and then basically two types of airplanes in World War I. They didn't really give a whole lot of extra information. So that is a great question. So I'll be writing it on the board over here. Why were airplanes important in World War I? Okay, so the reason why they're important in World War I is because World War I is the first global conflict in which airplanes are being used as a major part of nations' armed forces. This is kind of the first war where armies are realizing that, hey, we need to devote significant resources of the training of pilots to make sure that they can fight. Because you have to remember that, like I said, World War I started in 1914, and then the airplane and all the technologies that came together to create the airplane all came together in 1903. So 1903 to 1914, that isn't a whole lot of space of time for them to use these technologies in warfare. So it's a very new technology, but it's still a very significant part of World War I. So, like I said, the key parts to answer this question is why were they important is that they were used for reconnaissance. I'm not going to write the word reconnaissance down because I'm probably going to spell it wrong. But reconnaissance is all about gathering information. So we're going to write down gathering info. And remember, a major part of World War I is that they have these trenches. They're not moving. It's not a battlefield where people are moving towards one another and then they fight. It's these two trenches, and they're very singular. They're very stable. So they would fly over these trenches to see where the enemy was. So they are gathering information. And then the second part of to why they are important is the use of machine guns. So like they said in the PowerPoint, the machine gun is one of the new technologies that are first being used in World War I. They really weren't used in any other wars before that. So people are putting machine guns on top of these new airplanes and merging these two technologies to make them very, very deadly. So machine guns. And then also bombings. One of the key aspects of World War I and World War II is the amount of civilian deaths. Yes, there are civilian deaths in previous wars, but in World War I and World War II, we really see those number of civilian deaths increasing, and that is a major factor of the war. And then also the final one for why are airplanes important in World War I is dogfights. You probably all know what a dogfight is, but if you don't, dogfights are where two airplanes fight in very close proximity to knock each other out of the sky. So not only are airplanes being used to help other areas of the armed forces with reconnaissance and bombings, they are also fighting with one another, which is a very, very new concept. So this is it right here. If you don't have it down, I'll just give you a second. So this is it. And then I'm going to erase this, and then I'm going to answer the second question. Okay. So the second question is what are the Balkans? Okay, very good question. I had to research this some more because I was not completely familiar with it. So if we hit Control F and do the Balkans, we are going to find that it's in two areas. It is in this slide about nationalism and is also a key part of the imperialism slide. So I will keep it on the imperialism slide really quickly. And so the Balkans is an area of southeastern Europe. So it is an area in Europe. I'm going to write that down. Okay, so southeastern Europe. And so I will draw the area. I'm going to do my very best on how to draw it. It probably will not be to scale or to the best. But over here, we have Austria-Hungary. And remember, from the slides, Austria-Hungary is one of the countries that is broken up after World War I. That is one of the key areas of how the map changes after World War I. We have Romania right next to here, so that's Romania. Okay, and then we have Bulgaria, which is beneath. So these are just a few countries just to kind of let you know where it is in the map of Europe. And then we have Serbia. And then we kind of have Russia, just right over here. And then what's the key part is that the Ottoman Empire is kind of close to here, but we're just going to put it separately over here. And then why the Balkans were a key part of the imperialism slide is that the Ottoman Empire ruled over several small countries in the Balkans for over 400 years. And the reason why the countries in the Balkans did not like to be ruled by the Ottoman Empire is because the Ottoman Empire was a primarily Muslim country. So I'm going to write, like, most of the people were Muslims. And see, a lot of the small countries in the Balkans were Christian. So I'm going to write Christian over here. So these small countries at first didn't like to be ruled by another power, but they especially didn't like to be ruled by a power that had a different religion, that they didn't have a whole lot in common with. So because there's this kind of back and forth rule for over 400 years, tensions are just increasing and increasing until they finally explode at the beginning of World War I with the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. So we've done our final step. We have been writing or drawing the answers, and then we will go and switch to our group work. Thank you.